It's Monday Night Football. This one got a whole hell of a lot more interesting, not only just because the winner of it gets possession of first place in the division, but also the fact that it's Bills Jets and Robert Saleh, no longer head coach of the team. Jeff Ulbricht's now the interim head coach of the team, and Nathaniel Hackett no longer calling
No
plays.
longer
Todd
calling plays.
Downing is calling plays here. And I'll start this one off. And I'll start it off with the Jets offense. I'm stealing some stats here from Dalton Wasserman, who brought these up on the grades release show on Monday. But they are such a telling tale for the Jets. I had to repeat it here as truly the matchup that matters, and that is the Jets being able to start the game and start drives a lot quicker than they have been this season. When you look at PFF offensive grades for the Jets in the first quarter, they're dead last in the NFL. The first drive of the game, they're 30th in the NFL. First 15 plays, so scripted plays, first 15 plays, dead last in the NFL in offensive grade. And then first play of the drive, just first and 10, we're starting a drive. Overall offensive grade, 29th. They are bottom three, if not dead last, in every single category when it comes to starting the game out hot. And I think that kind of goes into the defending maybe the decision to move on from Robert Saleh, because they just aren't ready. They don't have the juice, the focus, the drive, whatever it is, to execute the way that they need to out of the gate. And like we saw against the Minnesota Vikings, it was almost like it was just too little too late. If they started that game in the second half, instead of the first half, and they were able to kind of build off of what we saw there, Jets may win that football game. But it's the fact that they are not able to play offense at the start of really anything, any drive, any quarter, certainly the first quarter, that's really been holding them back. And so with Todd Downing now calling plays, you're hoping it's a lot more potent if you are a Jets fan, not if you're a Bills fan, of course, in this one. But to me, that's the matchup that matters, is can the Jets offense look different now that changes have been made? What about you?
No, that's a great call out, especially because, yeah, the first 15 plays are usually scripted, and that comes from Nathaniel Hackett, but that also comes from Aaron Rodgers, if we know anything about how much input that he has on this offense, on the game plan, even when there is, maybe it speaks to actually like who Aaron Rodgers is as a quarterback, given the fact that when they get going, Aaron Rodgers changes plays a lot when it comes, like he'll get the play in the headset or whatever, and he will change it. That's part of why playing in an offense with him is really hard for a lot of young receivers or guys that haven't played with him for a while, because there's so many different outs and checks and audibles that he can pull. Sometimes even just changing a route, not in the entire play. Like Aaron Rodgers is really good at doing that. And maybe that speaks to the fact that they get better as the game goes on. It's what Aaron Rodgers is seeing. But going along with that, if we look at this game against the Vikings, it really mattered. Like I was very interested to see how Aaron Rodgers was going to fare against this Brian Flores defense that no one has been able to figure out. And in fact, he threw 3 interceptions through the fifth pick six of his career. That's it. He's only thrown 5, and that was the fifth one in his 20-year career. And what the Vikings defense does so well, and what they did so well, was the amount of movement up front, especially early. Aaron Rodgers was talking this talking about this on the Pat McAfee show, but we've seen it time and time again where there's a lot of movement up front, and that confuses an offensive line, that confuses anybody trying to set protections, because you're setting protections against a guy that isn't acting as you think he's going to act. And can the Bills defensive line do the same thing against this Jets offensive line? And not to mention, this Bills defensive line doesn't have Von Miller anymore. So the Jets offensive line has allowed 44 pressures in pass protection. That's 16th. They're very average. Their overall grade, 69.0. That's also 16th. Again, very average. They're 19th in pass blocking grade, 17th in run blocking grade. This is an offensive line that it is vulnerable in a lot of ways. And can the Bills defense capitalize on that? Now, Greg Rousseau has the most pressures on this Bills defensive line. Von Miller had the second most. You're without him. Ed Oliver then comes in at 9, AJ Epinesa 8. I just wonder, can you take advantage? Can you kind of emulate what Brian Flores' defense did that was so incredibly effective against this Jets offensive line in particular, in moving guys around, bringing pressure from different areas, and really kind of confusing the ever-loving you-know-what out of them, because Aaron Rodgers is the best at recognizing stuff. But if you can kind of keep changing things up, I think that not only the Bills defensive line, but the Bills front seven in general. Can you get everybody involved here? I think that could be really effective.
I'll flip to the other side when and talking about the Bills' offense as my plus factor here. Don't know if Khalil Shakir is going to play. He missed last week, and man, they sorely missed him. And when we talk about some of those Josh Allen numbers, 0 for 13 when it came to throws under pressure, 0 for 6 on passive 20 or more yards down the field, 1 for 14 on passive just 10 or more yards down the field. Now, I'm not saying if Khalil Shakir plays, those are magically all at 50% or above. We know that that wouldn't have been the case, but he would have been able to catch a couple more of those. And we see those stats because when he is targeting Khalil Shakir has the highest QBR on the team when he is targeted 144.0. That is by far the highest of any of those wide receivers. And he has by far the highest completion percentage when thrown to as well at 85.7. And so it's very clear. When I watched Josh Allen struggle last week, it was like, man, he just didn't quite have that chemistry with each of those wide receivers when it came to those non-separation type throws. And outside of Shakir, a lot of those wide receiver options that they have on the team, the tight ends included, they're contested catch players. They're players that aren't really going to create a big time throwing window for you. And Shakir can. So we'll see if he's able to play. It looks like he's ramping up to play, but he's still kind of working on his own. So we will see, but they really need him. And I think if it's a major difference in the offense, whether he plays or not. I don't think it would look as bad as it looked last week if he doesn't play, but it's certainly a factor because in my opinion, he has the best rapport with Josh Allen, and him not being in the lineup, you definitely saw that. But what do you think? What's a plus factor here?
It's so funny because we can look at the same stats, and I looked at all of that, seeing Josh Allen struggle against pressure and arrive at different conclusions as to how to remedy that. And my conclusion was get James Cook more involved. I think we thought that this offense was going to rely a lot on James Cook, not only on the ground, but to be that check down option for Josh Allen to get away from pressure, to give him a quick out, to give him a reliable guy. And up until this point, James Cook has only had one game where he's gone over 100 scrimmage yards. And that's not exactly the envision. Like, I did not envision that for this Bills offense that does have a lot of new, that had a lot of departures in both Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. I thought, hey, all right, I know Josh Allen is Josh Allen, but James Cook can be a factor in this receiving game on top of being that guy that you can lean on in the backfield. And we just haven't seen that usage quite yet. So in looking at, yes, how much Josh Allen was bothered under pressure, couldn't get the ball out at all. Why not give him a short to intermediate option in James Cook, who is a good receiver, he's a good pass catching back. And I think that's, at least for me, that's what I envisioned for this Bills offense when this season started.
I think it's a good call out by you. Getting James Cook more involved is a big time thing. That it's a big time part of the offense that I feel like they're missing. Certainly as the game was winding down last week, they probably in hindsight wish they gave James Cook the ball a little bit more, but we're not digging that up. I do think that even independent of what happened last week, they need to get him more involved because he is a talented player for them. There we go.